Today on What's Next.
I've been very fortunate that I haven't missed a day in 667 days. Always got my goal.
I kind of waited for the phone to ring. It always had. Didn't.
Set a goal and work your best to achieve it. Whatever you do, you're better off than if you've never set the goal.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Mark Middleton, and I have a question for you. Do you still set goals? If not, you should. Our lives are driven by goals when we're younger. We've got personal goals and educational goals. We've got career goals. And then at some point, we're told we've done enough. Relax, chill out. And while relaxing is important and chilling out is a lot of fun, giving up on goals is the kiss of death, because goals are connected to purpose, and purpose is the engine that keeps us going. Of course, our goals have to be realistic, and they do change as we age, but they're no less important than they were when we're younger. I'm joined today by GB's gang of goal-setting gurus. We've got Dr. James Smith Jr., the Sweeze, Amy Sweezy, and the coach, Bill Schaefer. And Bill, you met a woman who shows us all how to get started on a goal.
I sure did, Mark. And man, you're right. Goals are weird. We have like a love-hate relationship with those, don't we? I mean, they're tough. A lot of people don't like them because they can be hard, and who needs another way for us to disappoint ourselves, right? But yeah, Mark, I met a very interesting person who didn't really set out to do anything amazing, but it sure turned into it, all because she just took one step at a time.
I feel lucky to be alive.
Becky Lonergan couldn't take it anymore. Maybe you felt the same way, forced inside for over a year by the pandemic, until one day she decided she was just done sitting around, that it was time to take a big step, then another. It was time to venture out like she had never done before.
What made me do it was I didn't want to be stuck in my home. I wanted to get out there and just see other people, maybe from their driveway waving to me. Just wanted to get out there and experience all the things that's so beautiful here in our neighborhood.
Like all of us, she longed for social interaction, for physical exertion. She needed something, a goal, a challenge, and getting out felt good. One day led to another, and soon these morning walks became an everyday thing. But something unusual. She didn't want to walk the same route. She wanted to walk someplace different every day.
And I had a map of the streets, and I would highlight all of the streets that I covered in that day. I decided that I would walk to the places that I could, and when I couldn't do that anymore, including getting my steps in, then I would take the golf cart and go to another neighborhood.
She didn't really think anything of it until she noticed the map getting fuller, with streets she'd walked down and homes she'd passed. The Villages, located right in the middle of Florida, is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the country. Could she walk past every single home? That became her challenge. But covering the entire area would not be easy.
This is my certificate here that my husband put together. And this was a year ago today that I finished my summary of the just under 59,000 homes in neighborhood homes in the Villages. And right now, for 666 days, I've averaged, again, about 11,500 steps. And you put that all together, it would be over 7 million steps, or walking from the Villages to Portland, Oregon. I've been very fortunate that I haven't missed a day in 667 days. Always got my goal. And that's amazing, because I wasn't really sure when I started this that it would get to that point. And it did.
How long does it take you?
It depends on if I stop and talk to people or if I have to pet a dog or whatever. But I would say between an hour and a half and maybe an hour and 40 minutes.
An hour and a half investment a day in your health, your well-being, your mindfulness. Is it worth it?
It's definitely worth it. Anyone can walk. Anyone can ask someone to walk with them. take the time to enjoy what the beauty is around us and feel good about yourself. I know I sure am.
Isn't that incredible? It's kind of mind-blowing. She started with the goal of walking every day, and now she's over 700 days in a row. Becky is still out there walking. She took a desire, made a commitment, and she said the toughest step of all was that first step. We all seem to get these great ideas for things we're going to do someday that we never do because we just don't take that first step. And Dr. James, you're one of the most motivating people I know. I know you love to walk as well. What can we learn from people like Becky the walking lady?
Her story is so compelling. It's so intriguing. She was stuck in the house for a year, and then she decided to get out. And I think in life, many of us are stuck in our own house, whether it's mental, physical, you name it, we're stuck. And she decided to do something about it. You know, oftentimes you'll hear people say, you only live once, you only live once. No. Becky proves this. You only die once, but you live every day. And that's what her story said to me.
And stories like Becky always inspire me because she took baby steps. And I'm the kind of person that gets overwhelmed when I look at the big picture. It's such a huge thing that I can't do the whole thing. And so I just don't do anything. And instead, if you just look at it like Becky did, I'm just gonna walk this far today. I'm just gonna walk past these many houses. And then finally, baby steps, it all starts to add up into a big thing.
Yeah, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. And, you know, folks, obviously you don't do anything that you don't have to do that requires an hour and a half every single day for nearly 2 years without making it a goal. It was the goal that pushed her out on the many mornings that she didn't feel great and she'd rather be on the couch. It was the goal that held her accountable. And for me, the moral of the story is just that. Little achievable goals ultimately will lead to big, important accomplishments.
Getting older isn't the same as old.
Welcome back to What's Next. Aging, and I think middle age especially, is all about embracing change and transformation. And, you know, I think we all know Jane Pauley. She's now 71 years old, anchors CBS Sunday Morning, which I love, by the way. For 13 years, Jane was co-anchor at Today before gracefully but painfully forced out by younger Deborah Norville. She then anchored Dateline for about a decade, after which she was given her own talk show, which was canceled after just a year. And suddenly, for the first time in her life, for the first time in her career, Jane Pauley didn't have a what's next.
I kind of waited for the phone to ring. It always had. Didn't. And I knew I wasn't retired. I was 54. I expected to do more, didn't know what. That kind of draw blank that people have. It took about, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, 4 years of poking around and trying. I wasn't just sitting on my sofa watching the Home Shopping Network. I was really working the problem, but it took just getting up and doing something that inspired something else, that inspired the Your Life Calling series, which I made happen. I made that happen. Getting older isn't the same as old. So middle age can last into your 70s. So we've got to recalibrate how we define middle age and how we act. God knows we look pretty good. And I hope I have the imagination and the courage and the initiative to stay active, engaged, productive, creative. There's no definition to what that means. It just means that we have opportunities our parents and grandparents didn't have. And I hope I don't squander mine. Inspiration is everywhere, but you have to be looking. And I think that's really all it takes. If you've got your antenna up, you will be available to an opportunity you might not have noticed before.
Even well-known, successful celebrities struggle at times to find a what's next. But I think Jane's point is a great one. You won't find it if you're not looking. you have to be open to opportunity. We have to be willing, once again, to take that first step, because even if it's not the right one, it creates momentum. And gang, how about you? What do you think the keys are to making the most out of middle age?
Well, Mark, I swear I'm living this. I'm living Jane Pauley's life because, short time before I turned 50, I quit my job, quit my career, and then it became, okay, now what's next? So I love when she said that getting older is not the same as getting old. And it is so important that we redefine middle age. When we were all younger, our parents were middle-aged when they were 30, right? Now suddenly it becomes 40. And then when we're 50 and 60, oh, maybe middle age is, so we just have to kind of keep shifting that line until we recreate what middle age and redefine what middle age is.
And what is it that limits us? It's not age that limits us. It's not life. We do. We start thinking in our own mind, well, I'm this number now, so maybe that's too much for me, or maybe I can't be doing that, or I shouldn't think that way. And that's what we have to break out of the most. We have to get into the mindset of putting the pedal to the metal, going forward, getting the most out of life we can, and living it to the fullest regardless of age.
Bill, it's just warming my heart up inside. I believe it's about perspective. What we see, energy and action follow thought. What do we see? I went back to get my doctorate in my 50s. In my 50s, there was some reluctance, but had started, as you said, put the pedal to the metal. Perspective drives us getting older, but not old.
My kids always say, Mom, how long are you going to run? And I say, as long as I can run.
Well, welcome back to What's Next. We all hear a lot about the importance of goals and what a difference they can make. Well, in this episode, we're seeing some pretty interesting examples of people using them in the most motivating and uplifting ways. Something we do all the time. We'll see an older person who's still very athletic, very nimble, very active, and we'll make excuses for why we aren't. Oh, it's probably easy for them. Oh, they've got better genes. Oh, I bet their knee doesn't hurt. But that's not true. They have to work at it. They've decided it's important, so they put the work in. And as we found by talking to a group of runners at the National Senior Games, setting those goals sure can pay off. So do your friends look at you and go, are you crazy? Why do you put that much time and effort and money into traveling and going all these places?
My kids always say, Mom, how long are you going to run? And I say, as long as I can run.
Look at the example that you're providing for them.
Yes. My son always says he hits the gym, he works out, that I'm his inspiration.
He's got to keep up with Mom.
Yes.
How proud are you of what you do?
I'm so proud of me because not only my age, but make a sacrifice to be here, because today I might not able to be here because so much stuff happened, but the senior game make us go through all of it and make the dream come true. And that's what I came from. No matter what, I need to take at least one medal home.
It gives you a goal. It gives you a reason to keep moving forward. How about you? What do you think the real message of the games is to people that are watching?
I think it's just important to set a goal and work your best to achieve it. Whatever you do, you're better off than if you've never set the goal. So it's important to set the goal, be active, be healthy, and do your best.
They all have that spark of life, didn't they? Setting the right example, not just for themselves, but for all of us, especially their own family members who couldn't be more proud to see their moms and in some cases grandmothers out there earning their right to be active and healthy as possible. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and we'll start with you, Dr. James Smith, that somebody else's goals can also end up inspiring us. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. I was talking to my good friend Danny Bader recently, and Danny wrote a book, and the book describes what happened to him when he got that electrical shock and died for 6 minutes, and they brought him back to life. And he said after he was brought back to life, his goal was to every day lead with love. And after having that conversation, I am subscribing to that. That's going to be my goal too, to lead with love. It's powerful.
I think as a working mom, there's a lot of guilt that always kind of goes into spending enough time with your kids and, being at work. And I'm inspired by the comment that our kids can be inspired by us. And I do think that that's something that, perhaps instead of looking at it as I've missed out on all of this with my kids, instead I'm providing an example to my kids of how to have the work-life balance. And when you decide that you aren't happy with your full-time career anymore, you look for your what's next.
You've taught your kids a valuable lesson, Amy. And apologies for the redundancy, Bill, but we say it all the time. When we can see ourselves in others, when we can see somebody like us doing something that we'd like to do or didn't think we could do or hadn't even realized that it was an option, that's when the switch is flipped and personal transformation begins. What we do is not only important to ourselves, but whether we realize it or not, our examples inspire others and can actually change lives. To put it another way, seeing is believing. Every time we see someone else achieving a goal, I think it does trigger something inside each of us to reach higher and farther as well. Social media is a great spot for short nuggets of wisdom and inspiration. We call them bold socials. And here's one from Andre DeShields, the star of the Broadway hit Hadestown.
I would like to share with you my 3 cardinal rules of sustainability and longevity. Cardinal rule number 1, surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you coming. Cardinal rule number 2, slowly is the fastest way to get to where you want to be. Cardinal rule number 3, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next, so keep climbing.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Amy Sweezy. We've been talking today about goals, and I know some of you certainly made some New Year's resolutions in January, and maybe you haven't followed through with them yet, but I'm here to remind you the year is not over. In fact, we asked our Growing Bolder tribe, what's something that you still want to accomplish this year? I have kind of a strange on my to-do list, a strange thing on my to-do list. I want to reorganize my home office. I've been working from home. I need my office to accommodate me, and it doesn't. It's not a happy place for me. It's not where I want to be. It's cluttered. It's disorganized. And so my goal before the end of the year is baby steps, small little, first my desk, and then this pile, and then this pile. I'm going to get my home office reorganized so it is usable and comfortable. How about you guys?
Well, I'll go next, Amy. I mean, this series is really getting to me because to a fault, I am a what's now kind of a person, focused on what's now. I really want to start focusing on what's next. It's not something I've given hardly any thought to at all in my life. Isn't that kind of embarrassing? It's ridiculous. My wife will ask me all the time, what are we going to do in 5 years? What are we going to do in 10 years? And I'm like, I've got no clue. So you really have to sit down and look at it maybe as if it's your job to start planning things out and knowing what the steps are, so at least I have some kind of a roadmap to follow.
Roadmaps. For me, it's been a long road, winding road to doing a TEDx. And I applied to TEDx Eustis. When it comes to fruition, it won't be this year, but it'll be in January. But getting on that stage, running my mouth like I love to do, that's my goal.
That's a great one.
It is, and Jim, we've seen you do it and nobody does it better, so let us know if you need a recommendation. And guys, I know it doesn't sound very ambitious, and with all due respect, Amy, I think you and I are aligned on this, but I want to continue shedding that which matters least. My goal is to embrace the idea that less is more, and in fact, I tell my wife on a regular basis, let's pretend that we're going to move in 90 days and we have to downsize into a much smaller place so we can get rid of all that which serves us least, or I guess as Marie Kondo would say, that which no longer sparks any joy. And folks, I think we've learned today that having goals is important. Happy aging is about focusing on what you can do and not what you can't do. Yes, we do have to accept an ever-changing reality, but that doesn't mean that we can't keep moving forward. It doesn't mean that we can't live with purpose and be a positive example for others. Setting goals helps us do that and are an important step to creating what's next. We'll see you next time.